what I want to start by talking about, if I can bring it up here, that's the one, is to come back to, oh, I didn't want that to hide there. I'm going to move that. Is to talk a little bit about the theme of the three talks that we're going through right now, because Helen already showed that diagram that I think everybody's probably well and truly sick of seeing, where we looked at the discovery history for this part of the world and the 150 million or so dollars worth of research expenditure that's been that's been laid out to various providers and groups to try to develop an understanding of the geoscience of this area to aid exploration. And I think that, one thing that you would say about a lot of that expenditure is that there's been some fantastic work done over a long period of time. And we were well aware of that when we started this program. But I think having spent, having started as a researcher and then spent 23 years or so in exploration, what I also had a strong feeling of is that a lot of that work hadn't been put into a form that was useful to explorers. And so one of the things that we wanted to do as part of this program was to take the information that was already available and to do the best sort of effort we could do to make that information available in a form that could be useful for explorers. So a lot of explorers can't download papers. It costs them $35. And I've been in that situation. You're looking and say, oh, there's a paper here. Do I pay $35? Because I don't know what's in it. And so you don't download the paper, and you don't have the time to read the paper either. So what that means is that, and I guess the other thing to say about that is that all of the explorers, particularly now, I mean, I remember when I started working in this area, I was working with a group that had a very large technical support group, who, and I know that there are still groups out there that are doing it, but I also know that there are mid-sized and junior companies who don't have anything like that. They don't have people who have the time to sit and think and ponder technically challenging bits of information that are generated by very capable and experienced researchers. What they want is translation of that information into something that they can use to apply to their exploration. And I do honestly think that we have and continue to have fallen down and continue to fall down in that area in terms of translating the very good work that's being done into outcomes that can be employed by explorers to improve their performance. So the Geochem toolkit, I think, is a fantastic example, and I used it a lot. We used it a lot in the compilation stuff we were doing, of just pulling together information that was available into a form that anybody can use and apply to their exploration. And the title of my talk today is on the compilation, and I'll spend a little time. I'm not going to put up, oh, but then we did this, then we did that, then we did this, because what I want to show you instead is the effort that I'm making to try to take all of the outcomes of the last 4 years of work that's been done on this program and put it into a form that people can gain access to it. That the link that you can see there is a summary PDF file that contains links to just about every single data set that's been generated as part of this program. It also contains links to most of the presentations that have been made. I mean, the great thing about COVID, there's not too many great things about it, but one thing about it is that suddenly in the last couple of years, and we were doing this all along as part of this program, we have a whole series of recorded presentations where people are talking live about the work that they're doing and its potential significance for exploration. So links to all of the recorded webinars that we could get our hands on also lie in this document. If you don't get it now, well, we'll be sending around this link later. We had an advisory panel as part of this program, and and they felt that this was a very good way for people to take this PDF, they could send it around to their colleagues, and when they're going back and saying, oh, where was that mag data set, or where was the data set associated with this, that, or the other thing, they can go to this document, find the link, and get to it directly. No. The other thing that I wanted to mention was, and Helen's already mentioned this, we really do want to get feedback on the work that's been done as part of the new discovery program, and also to get feedback, more importantly, on other work that could be done in the future. So if you get a chance, and we'll keep putting this link up, it'd be really great while we're thinking about this and working on it to get some feedback on this. So I'm not going to go through all these things. You've seen all those, but and this is just all from the website, really showing the spatial extent of a lot of the work that was carried out. So there's a timeline of all the various different studies. All the blue ones here are basically, can you see a mouse there? It's gone. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All the blue ones there are studies that have been finished. When you click on one of these links, it takes you directly to the study, and there's a link to a final report and presentations, in this case on the Tick Hill project. And then so it's like a self-sourcing website. And so, the CSIRO talk that we're going to hear about later, later on in this session, the final reports in there, a series of presentations are in there on Curry Metal. I won't go through all these, but what I want to talk about now briefly is the Northwest Mineral Province Geoscience Compilation, which was the original topic of this talk. So again, the final report from that program is on there. A prototype spatial data index, which is just an online tool compilation of references for the Northwest Mineral Province. That's up there, but then a whole series of different data sets in as many different formats as we can get, so that when you get it, you don't have to worry about converting it to QGIS if you want to use QGIS or MapInfo or ArcGIS. So we've got a compilation of all the targets that were ever generated and I'll go through some of these in a second. All the targets that were publicly available and generated in the Northwest Mineral Province. Karen already mentioned the stratigraphy. So that time-space diagram, there have been a whole series of versions of that time-space diagram. So one of the things we did as part of this compilation, and I'll show that in a second as well, is to take that time-space diagram and say, well, if I'm interested in a certain time slice in the Northwest Mineral Province, I don't want to go away and find all the rock types in the 100 different formation names in the database that correspond to that time slice. I'd like to just have them so I know where the distribution of those units are. So that's the thing we did. There have been a whole series of 3D models that have been put together by various different groups for the Northwest Mineral Province. Some of them were done in very early versions of GoCAD, where number one, not only do you need GoCAD, you need an older version of GoCAD, and then you've got to stuff around with them to try to get them into the right format and change their projection as well. A whole series of seismic interpretations that are in papers and reports not registered, and we pulled those together into a single coverage, and a series of solid geology interpretations. So early on, a solid geology interpretation for the Eastern Fold Belt that Karen then added on to and incorporated the seismic, working with people from the GSQ, like Don and Janelle, to come up with a much improved interpretation of that zone that was, it's even more complex than I ever imagined. So that's the style of thing we put together into the compilation. And as I said, I'm not going to sort of go through, I'm not going to just show a bunch of slides with all that, but what what I will show is a couple of examples. So the time slices, for example. So you look at that. There's that's the geology of the geology of from that's just basically the GSQ geology, and in map info format in this case. Bringing my computer to its knees a little bit. But what you can see or may not be able to see on the left-hand side here is that each one of these zones is a time slice. So if I'm only interested in I'm not interested in the South Nicholson Basin, so I'm going to turn that one off. I'm interested in the in the sort of the host rocks to Mount Isa style mineralization. Then I can turn all of these older units off and focus in on the what was formerly called, I guess, cover sequence 3, the Isa super basin. So what you can basically do is take the time space plot and focus in on the lithologies and structures. I'm not going to pull all the structures apart, but suddenly now what we're looking at is the age equivalent rocks to that time slice in the Isa in the Northwest Mineral Province. So that's one example. The other example I mentioned, and again, that's available. I put it up in map info format because I have to be logged into the VPN of UQ to run ArcGIS. So that's a little bit problematic. Another example, and this one's in QGIS in this case, are targets. So basically, there's been a whole series of targets. Again, you probably can't read these, but we've got geophysical anomalies, targets based on mineral occurrence densities. What we were looking at there was isopachs from 3D models. So what we're looking at is thickness variations in sedimentary packages, which is of course important if you're thinking about targeting for sediment hosted base metals. I will turn that off. I've got the time slices here in the background. You may or may not be able to see. I'm going to turn off a couple of these things. See all these things? These are geomechanical modeling targets that were developed as part of the PMD CRC, putting in the GMEX. Did a lot of this work. John, God, what's his last name? McLennan. I was going to say McIntyre. That's not right. McClellan. John McClellan. Yeah. So we've got those geomechanical targets. We've got there was a as part of the I2 project, there was a weights of evidence prospectivity model. So there those are. I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically what we've done, these are from the 2000 Mark Hinman, Vic Wall, Mike Etheridge, Northwest Mineral Province targeting exercise. So a series of targets for base metals, for IOCG type deposits, all ranked according to criteria. So we pulled all of those together into one single coverage. Another example that, as I said, it's been superseded now is seismic interpretations and seismic data. So these are in geoscience analysts now. We're actually looking at Walford Creek here. So that's data that was, I think, collected with support from the CEI. But we've got basically, if we zoom out now, we've got seismic with interpretations for all of the ones that we had available at the time. So there's a few of them. I'm not going to bring them all up, but this is the sort of thing. And of course, what's happened now is that these have been superseded by a much better set of, or well, different. I mean, I guess I think they're better set of interpretations by Karen and Dom and Janelle. So that's another example. And the other thing I wanted to show, which is something that you can also get more information from, I've got too many windows open. That's probably why everything's going slowly here. There it is. That's what I was looking for. you can see there's a whole lot of information there. And what you find with there's a couple of things about that information. One is that in order to access it, you got to download it, you got to put it on your computer, you got to license software, you've got to if you're in some organizations, you can't license that software, and the people providing it can't update it. So what we've actually started on, and this is a project being led by Steve Micklethwaite, is to pull all this information into an online database. So what we're looking at here, for example, is all of the interpretations, all of the serial sections from the Deep Mining Queensland project, where you've got about, I think it's not all of the sections from there because we did about 40 of them, but basically it's you know, this is all being accessed on Amazon Web Server remotely over the hotel Wi-Fi. So what that means is that if we wanted to update this, we could do it anytime. But we've got you know, we've got information for Ernest Henry. There's the body. If we wanted to bring up the magnetotellurics, this doesn't incorporate the new magnetotellurics, of course, but you can see anyway, I'll move back to Ernest Henry, but you can see some of the, you can see actually the end of the, you may not be able to see it, but that body there is the end of the finger that goes to Ernest Henry. And when you store that thing, you can go all the way from deep magnetotellurics down to is it in there? Oh, it's not, sorry. Down to X-ray tomography in the same data set. So that's actually X-ray tomography of a sample, which is basically looking at density of a, so it's basically looking at sulfides within a core sample from X-ray tomography. And basically all of this can be stored in the same data set. So our aim is to ultimately take all of the compilation work that we've done and put it together into a digital earth that can be queried and linked back to the original data. And I'll leave it there, I think. And if you want to see more of this and a more up-to-date version of this, then Steve will be happy to take you through it, no doubt. So I'm really just going to finish the way I started, which is to, whoops, I'm going to move that down. Save for that. You can't really see that link very well. Anybody who wants the link, email me or ask me for it and I'll give it to you. But this document basically has all of the links to everything in the last 4 years that we've done, and hopefully will be a good starting point for you to familiarize yourself with what's available, including the compilation that I've just shown you some examples from. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. I'll also point out on the Open Data Portal, the link that you can scan there, I've uploaded that document, this document, to that as well. So if you go to that data set, there's a document, you can download that document. It'll have all the links, but all the data sets are available in that CCAN page as well. Do we have any questions for Rick? Do you have any questions online for Rick? No? Oh,
yeah.
One back here.
Not a question, but just thank you, because we have been using this in industry and we recognize that it's a huge amount of effort. So please keep doing this. It's really saving us loads of time and is really, really helpful.